and me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike,
and I'd like to say hello.
And Maurice is now a member of the band. They're known for one of the most popular hip-hop songs of all time, of course, when you were just listening to it. Good afternoon, I'm Dick Brennan. Decades later, we're still hearing Sugarhill Gang's Rapper's Delight. And as we mark the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, we hear from the legendary group on the story behind the 1979 hit that changed mainstream music. And joining me now is Maurice DuBois, who is bringing our background lyrics there for a second. And you recently caught up with the Sugarhill Gang, and you put two pieces together, which are absolutely incredible. I got to watch both of them. But, you know, that music, we've heard it our whole lives, okay? It's just sort of...
We were there at the beginning.
That's it, but
we're
that's the difference.
Here who can say that.
Very few, and we won't say exactly where. I can say I was in high school.
Yes.
And it just kind of exploded all around.
It changed everything. I remember where I was. I'm out in Suffolk County. Went to high school in Port Jeff.
Okay.
Right? And everyone used to hold boom boxes back in the day.
Right, boom boxes.
And so someone had a box. It was at a basketball court in the downtown part of the village, and this song was played. It's like, oh my gosh, what is that? And we just kept playing it over and over, and like, whoa, it was so different from everything, which you contextualize that, right? Today, hip-hop is the #1 music genre in the country. It's huge around the world. You can't watch a movie, listen to a song, go anywhere without hearing hip-hop. You just think it's everywhere. Back then, it wasn't, right? It was just this new thing that just exploded onto the scene, and people were trying to make sense of it. And look at where they've come now.
But
right?
And this was the song that did
this was the
because
one.
Now this is 1979. You were just talking. We mentioned the 50th anniversary of hip hop because, as you were saying, 1973 is the real start.
Yeah, you do the math. 73 is 50 years.
There
right?
you go.
So
I figured that out too.
Record. So for the first 6 years, there were just DJs and MCs at parties in the Bronx, in the boroughs, around the city as well, making this music at parties. So it was just a thing. It was just a social thing under the mainstream radar. No one had ever heard about this thing until this one producer in Inglewood, New Jersey, wanted to make a record, and that's where she found these guys, put them together. They didn't even know each other, put them together, and made this song in one take. And just
in one take. I love that. Yeah.
Right? They did a 15-minute version of the song.
I love that. 15 minutes. For those of us who remember, I think that might have been a disco thing that started the 12-minute version. And by the way, nobody knows what we're talking about when we say we have the vinyl here.
12-inch version.
The 12-inch version
here.
This is what
DJs would start to mix. So I got these guys, fanboy time, right? I got these guys to sign my record.
That's fantastic.
Which I dug up out of my basement. Here they are.
Awesome.
Right, gushing. You guys, please sign my record. And it's really gold.
I mean,
just gold.
When you buy, I remember we used to go in Queens to go to Corvettes. Great music selection. There was always something about getting that album and seeing that album, opening out of the plastic and then putting it on. But this is unbelievable because in your piece, it was selling, and I wrote this down, it was unbelievable, 50,000 records a day. A day.
It exploded, right? People were just into it and buying it and playing it everywhere you went. That's what it was.
And these guys, you had a great question in the piece. You said, what's it like to be super famous at 17? In other words, you're kind of peaking at 17. Describe what it was like when you were interviewing the guys in the band.
First of all, it's an out-of-body experience, right? You're having an I love my job kind of day. I guess we have that little exchange.
Yeah, let's listen to that, yeah.
What did you see? What did you hear? What was the reaction?
Woo! Now that was crazy. So I go back to high schools. Every single store, every single car, everywhere I went, I could keep, and it would start in one place and start again, and start one place. That's when I knew.
That's the man they call the Master G right there. He was 17 when the record came out. And a kid in high school, next thing he knows, he's on tour. He's going around the world. And he's part of this phenomenon that people can't get enough of. And to this day, still a party jam. Everyone loves the song. You and I were just sitting here.
Right, you hear it. The minute you hear it, it's like you just got to...
Right? And so it's still a crowd pleaser all around the world. They're still touring, traveling, playing that song primarily. And they have a few others, but that's the one everybody wants to hear.
I mean, I mean, if you want to look at it, you have rock in the 60s, you have the beginning of the 70s is disco. Really, the end is this 79, and that starts a whole movement. It was a movement. The music still exists. But the story of the band is not as exciting, or I shouldn't say as exciting, is not as happy as the story of the song.
No, they have some highs, they have some lows. It's a story of recovery, ultimately, in the end, and reconciliation. But they had some really, really dark times. We get into it tonight at 5 and 11 on the news, and you'll really just be taken aback by it in a sense. But it's also kind of a well-worn story with musicians getting ripped off by producers producers and by, you know, managers and that kind of thing. And that kind of happened to them, but they're still together 4 decades later. I mean, Wonder Mike pointed out that the Beatles were together for just a handful of years. You know, a lot of groups are together for just a chunk of time, but they're together to this very day, and fun and friends, and they have a great time, and they cut up on each other and laugh and laugh and laugh, have a great time.
And talking about a phrase, thankful and grateful, that's what one of the guys said.
Yeah.
I'm thankful and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Beatles. I think I'd said to you that even the Beatles, arguably one of the greatest bands of all time, they got ripped off too. At least they say they did. You know, now they didn't lose as much.
Right. These guys were down and out for a while, and they were able to get their name back in more ways than one. But I mean, look, we're sitting there in their studio in Inglewood with...
Well, I was just going to ask you that. What's it like being a fan? Because there's something special. Not only this shot, I remember the shot you were at North Shore Towers on the golf course. And
one of us was a big golfer, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I know. And we saw you...
a lot of trash on the golf course.
Yeah, I was going to say, you had a few swings in there, too.
I did. I got mine, you know. I ball a little longer than he did, but, you know, he was... He was okay with that.
This was a really collegial group, and yet they had been through so much back and forth. And you would think there would be some bitterness, right?
There has been, right? But they have come to reconcile. They're even business partners with the guy on the right there. He's part of the Robinson family who managed them for a while. They've come full circle, and they're good. They really are. They're good together. This right here is a pizza place in Inglewood, New Jersey, which figures prominently in the
Crusty
story.
Something, I think it was.
Crispy Crust.
Crispy Crust, yeah.
Prominently in the story of the Sugarhill Gang. The most unlikely thing. Here we are on the golf course, Master G and myself. But it's just really an out-of-body experience when you get to meet someone who you know, as a kid, you idolized. They were heroes, and they still are, and they're icons, and they're legends, and they're all-stars and Hall of Famers and all that. And to spend time with them is surreal, out-of-body, and just purely fantastic.
But they didn't get the, you don't get the sense that they were full of themselves. You don't get the sense that they were, and do they really understand the impact they had on music as a whole? Because this type of song, we were talking about music earlier, and I said, oh, that song reminds me of this song. And what, of course, you know, we saw that, the Ed Sheeran trial, that songs always remind songs.
Right.
This song you can hear in 5 decades of music, and that's what's extraordinary about it. And then one more thing you said before, you said they did it in one take.
They did.
Could you imagine?
They did. They just laid it down, and the producer was like, hey, that's great.
And they admitted that they said they had taken some lyrics from this guy who did get paid. No, but he got paid off. Remember,
one guy did, one guy didn't.
And one guy said, I guess he didn't mind.
Well, he didn't press it. But
he didn't press it.
There was some thievery going on by one of the members who's no longer with us. When I say thievery, he took some lyrics and didn't account for it. The song, the bass line of the song came from the song Good Times by Chic.
Right, Good Times.
They made sure they got their royalties.
73 hit or something like that.
Right. No, 79. That was...
Oh, Chic, was that late? Okay.
Yeah, it was a current hit, like late 70s.
Oh, okay.
Great song. The great Nile Rodgers was a producer of that. But I hope you watch. I hope everyone checks this out, because we had fun. We shed some light. We bring rap and we bring hip-hop full circle. We tell that story, and really the genesis of a movement that's become part of the culture, so ingrained, and everyone just takes it for granted. These are the original, the OGs, the original kings of hip-hop. Don't miss it.
You said the one word there out of all of this, and it was all important and serious, but you guys had fun. Yeah. And when you watch this piece, it's a two-part series. I'm going to show you what it's at 5 o'clock tonight and also at 11 o'clock tonight. Both pieces are different. They're very different. But the thread that goes throughout them is, wow, you can see their charisma. You can feel their charisma. Beyond the music they made, they were performers. They're fun guys. And to watch this piece tonight, you did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
It was.
Appreciate that. We had a great team. But, you know, and I think the word that the thread that goes throughout this is joy. It really is. They feel it, they get it, they spread it, and they embrace it all the way through.
And you will get it if you watch this tonight. It's going to be Sugarhill Gang, the original kings of hip-hop, tonight at 5 and 11. And you don't want to miss this, folks. I mean, whether you lived it like I did and Maurice did, or whether you learned it like my kids did, you'll want to see this at 5 and 11. I'm Dick Brennan with Maurice DuBois. Thanks for joining us.